Hey everyone, welcome back to Shah's World Life Unfiltered, where I share my unfiltered thoughts on life, culture, and everything in between. Today, we're diving into something very close to my heart, what it's like to be a young black woman who used to work in basically a predominantly white space. I used to work in a supermarket where I was one of the few black employees, and I've had some interesting, some uncomfortable experiences. So in today's episode, we're talking about the unique challenges and sometimes eye-opening encounters that come with being in this kind of environment. We'll touch on everything from Black Lives Matter and Black History Month to dealing with people who are really just, stuck in their ways. So grab your favorite snack, get comfortable, and let's get into it. So, like I mentioned before, I used to work in a supermarket where it was mostly white people, and sometimes that in itself comes with a lot of issues. Not as much issues, but I can't think of the word that I want to use. But you have your back up against the wall, shall we say. And there's been many instances where I've had day-to-day challenges, and there's been like different dynamics just based around that. Um, and it's even harder when obviously you're young, but then you're young being a person of color. And I had many, many, many issues that I feel like if the roles were reversed and it was a white person, the situations would be sort of different. And like I said, some people are stuck in their ways, some people are willing to change, educate themselves, and then there are some people who are just like genuinely interested, which then points the question of just kind of show that maybe you're not really around like black people that much. And so there's been instances like when I first started, I started out on like the fish and meat counter, which was absolutely disgusting. It was like vile. Even though that wasn't the role I applied for. I applied to be on checkouts, but apparently someone scored higher than me. I don't know how true that is, but we'll move on. And it was like during the Christmas period, and I'm sure it was for like a permanent position. I can't quite remember, it's been like so many years now. And I'm there on the meat and fish counter. Like, by the way, guys, it's absolutely freezing on there, like absolutely freezing cold. I've got like little apron thing on, hat, whatnot, and I'm just there pretending that I know what I was doing when I actually didn't. I was just winging my way through, and this little old lady just walks by. Like, I know she was with her husband, and she said to one of my colleagues on the counter, "You've got yourself a little helper today." Let's just bear in mind, guys, I'm the only black person on the counters. Because at the time there was the deli counter, the hot food counter, meat and fish counter. I was the only black person on the counter. Like, at the time, I really, really didn't think anything of it. But reflecting back and looking at it, I'm just like, did she mean any harm? Probably not. But when you say you got a little helper to the only black girl on the counter, makes you want to raise your eyebrows. Like, at the time, I literally just brushed it off and just thought, whatever. Um, and then obviously moving forward, moves on to a different department, and there's, I think I was one of the youngest on my department at the time. And I was very quiet, to be honest. Like, it was my first proper job. So I was like very quiet, just trying to gauge people. So with movements like Black Lives Matter, it's hard not to feel the weight of these issues in every space I walk into. But it's even more intense in a workplace where I'm often the only one who really gets it. Let's talk about how the movement has affected me personally and the unique experience of raising awareness within this environment. So, Black Lives Matter, the Black Lives Matter movement originally started on July 13th, 2013. Duh. When I say, okay, so if I remember correctly, me didn't, didn't, didn't. There was basically four black people at the time of Black Lives Matter when it happened during 2020, during like COVID. And, it was just like, it was really, really hard because no one actually understood. And then it's like the reaction was the reaction I was expecting. So it's always, but all lives matter. They couldn't understand or grasp all lives cannot matter until Black Lives Matter. And the amount of times I had to constantly repeat myself of this was very tiring and frustrating. Which kind of just shows you're either stuck in your ways or you're just finding it hard to understand that all lives cannot matter until Black Lives Matter. It is what it is. And obviously, this was like during lockdown, and when lockdown was just easing up, and it's like having to have like some people with genuine interest as to why it's a Black Lives Matter, and like that's when I didn't mind explaining it, and then like having other like colleagues try and help me phrase it so that other people could understand. But what like I hate like this story just gets me so angry every time because I literally could have almost lost my job over this. So essentially, lockdown was just easing up, and it's mostly old people who shop at the supermarket where I was based, and had some stupid, immature people who were just walking in, coughing, going behind like the old people, and being very disrespectful, um, to the point where they're obviously saying that they don't feel comfortable. Um, so one of my colleagues asked for me to raise it with a security guard. This, you know what? At the time, I kind of liked the security guard, but after this situation, done, all respect was out the window. So basically, what happened? Went to the security guard and I was like these like need kicking out because they're making the other shoppers feel uncomfortable, and just watch them when they come through self scan, rare tear tear. So I was watching had another person on self scan watching security watching um trying to this security only has mouth when it comes to like teenagers, telling them to get out, obviously. When it comes to big people, not really. And I was like, right, okay, like these need to go because they're being rude, they're being disrespectful. No, let's just wait, let's just watch and see what happens. But they need to go. Like I'm telling you, they need to go. Take them out. Wasn't happening. Then this big kerfuffle took place with one of my co-workers. That I was like borderline disrespectful and rude. Then the other one, he was up in my face and he was like, basically saying, well, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Blah, blah, blah. And bearing in mind, he's like 6 foot something, and I'm only a measly 5'3", 5'4". You're there in my face. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Security guard. Hello, where are you? Can't see you. Oh, yeah, that's what you're standing at the back of this circle. It's not worth your job. It's not worth your job. Do your job and get them out like I told you to then. This customer said in my face, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? I was like, what do you mean what I'm going to do about it? Like, I was mad. I was so angry. And they always like to say, why you're lucky you're a girl. I was like, if you're bad, do something. Like, if you are bad, do something, because I don't have to be a girl for you to lay your hands on me. And then it was getting intense. Bearing in mind, the other, like their friends, who, whatever they are, one friend was white and the other friend, I think she was black, and he turned around and was like, be lucky you're still breathing. Pause. Rewind. What did you just say? When I tell you I was livid, my other co-worker, who's also my friend, she had to like hold me back. Hands up, I wasn't gonna touch anyone. I was just angry, and the fact that the security guard just stood there and just let me take this abuse was something else. Fast forward, I'm having a disciplinary meeting because the CCTV makes me look aggressive, and that I was going to hit the customer who was 6 foot. I'm like, you guys, like, are you actually being for real? And I feel like it was at that point where I lost a lot of respect for a lot of people. And then when it came to my disciplinary, we had to get witness statements. Everyone's story matched mine, but the security guard. Why? Because he didn't do his job. That's why. Everyone's story matched mine. Everyone's story matched mine. I didn't even talk to no one. Everyone's story matched mine. His was completely different. Of course it would be. And then I had to have like a rep. Like, I was really close with her. And it was the case of like having to apologize. I'm like, I'll say in my head, I said, no, but I didn't do anything wrong. It's just because the CCTV camera makes me look aggressive because I was being held back. You don't even know, the managers don't even know what I was going to do. But the fact that they're insinuating that I was going to potentially attack a customer who was racially abusing me, being rude to my staff, to not having any sort of form of support, to then be called to have a disciplinary conversation, whilst there's a whole movement about Black Lives Matter, just proves the point. It literally proved the point. Everyone's like, oh, but we get it, but you don't, because I know full well if the roles were reversed and that was a white person, no disciplinary actions being had, nothing at all. I was just like, it is what it is. Like, I'm not sorry, but like, this was my only like source of income at the time. Like, I'm not sorry, but I can pretend that I'm sorry. I'm not being silenced, like, no way. And then there was another incident where we basically had a shoplifter, and this same security guard, like I said, got mouth for all the adults. But you see, when it comes to the little kids, to the teenagers, no, it doesn't have mouth for adults, but it's got mouth for teenagers, telling them to get out. The way he treated this shoplifter was disgusting. Like, grabbed him, dashed him onto the floor, and like, bearing in mind, let's just pause there. Bearing in mind, during the Black Lives Matter, when George Floyd sadly passed away, it was because a police officer put his knee in his neck and he said, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. This security guard did the same thing to the shoplifter, and the shoplifter said, "Get off my neck, I can't breathe." Do you think he cared? No. And at the time I was on with a lovely manager. Bearing in mind, with security, they have cameras on. Do you think he turned his camera on? No, because he knew what he did was wrong. So I'm there witnessing like the whole thing and whatnot, having to call the police and all that. And I thought, you know what? I was like, I'm not putting up with this, and I'm definitely not working on shift with the security guard. So I complained to my store manager at the time and said, this is what he did, this is how they reacted. Didn't have the dash camera on. I'm not working with him on my shifts. Give me another security guard. Because how can you be having all these talks, but your actions aren't lining up? And when I say we're not back into work, I think he spoke to me. No, and then there's little rumors. Oh, someone told on so and so. Someone made a report. It was me. It was me. Because you don't scare anyone. You don't own the company. You're walking around like you know what you're doing, but you're scared. So I was like, time to put you down a peg, and that's what I did. And I think it took for this movement to really be like, damn, people can support online, but it's how they really act in person. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to shy away from my identity. And I will happily correct people who say all lives matter, because it don't matter. All lives cannot matter until Black Lives Matter. And this is why I keep saying over and over and over again. And you know what like really annoys me? Is when people say, "But I've got black friends," or so. Just because you've got black friends doesn't mean you can't be uneducated. Do you know what I mean? And what I also find like quite annoying is, I mean, I don't really take it to heart or take it personally, but it's like people just like look at black people and just think they're all the same. I don't even know how. There was a reason why I said that sentence, and now I can't remember why I said it. But I feel like people still need to be educated. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say, because like I'm gonna get too heated with this, especially like within the workplace. It was just like disgusting. That's where things went downhill for me, to be honest. So moving on, let's dive into Black History Month. So for me, this month is about so much more than just its history. It's a reminder of resilience and identity, but in a space where so few people share our background, it can sometimes feel a little lonely. So let's unpack it. Black History Month happens in October, and within this workplace, what was I part of? I was part of like I was part of this little thing, and I can't even remember what it was called. This is what I mean, like it was ages ago. But when it came to Black History Month, boy, was that awkward. It was so awkward because there's only four of us. I feel like maybe it was like a designated role, but there was a time where I just had to do something for Black History Month within this workplace. Just like I got like little cupcakes. I supported a young black entrepreneur with his drink, brought that in. What did I do? I got a few people to obviously contribute. And also at this time when I was doing it, there was five. I got a few people to I was like contribute their own little thing. But I just feel like it wasn't giving what it was meant to give, and that's just because it's really really hard to sort of like do in that type of environment, because when it's a predominantly white place with white people, and mostly like not elderly, but they're not young. Some people are just going to be stuck in their ways and they just don't want to know about the history. And I would always get excited to try and celebrate the month. But when you just, I follow with everything of like Black Lives Matter and all of this, I kind of like lost the mojo for it slightly, but I still pulled through. And people were like, oh, that was really good. Like you did a really good job of this, or this food tastes nice, or all of these little things. And not everyone was willing to try the food. Not everyone was willing to ask. However, if I was eating something like rice and peas and chicken, like all once I'm like, oh, it's just not, rice and peas. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know. It was just, it was just really hard. And I remember this girl. She was really good. She created like a lovely sign in a different department that she worked in, and I was like, that's like really nice. And it was just, it was slightly disheartening, but also encouraging. But then it opened my eyes to see, unless someone does something, Black History Month is just silence in that workplace, absolute silence, and it's very, very sad. So I would try and promote it and like on our work social media type thing and try and encourage people and share all these different information, share the knowledge, post things around, and I just feel like it was ignored. And then still hearing all lives matter, I'm just like, you know what? How can I make a change in such a small knit environment where I feel like some people just aren't willing to change? I spoke up, but then I got shut down by having a disciplinary set boundaries were crossed. Do you know what I mean? It was just hard and like very exhausted. So yeah, it's just very sad really, coming to really think about it. And I think I just kind of gave up. I I did it for a few days and I was just like, this is no one gets it, and you know, no one really supports it. So I was just like, don't know. But were the ways that I just kept my cool, I just kept silent. In all honesty, quiet. Like I said, like being a young black girl in an environment like that, most things are directed at you. So there was another incident. Before we wrap up, let me tell you another story. So there was another incident. I was in a petrol station with another colleague, and this guy came in, taxi driver, alleged taxi driver, and he just wanted to change some money. And we do it for other taxi drivers. So I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. Gave me the money, counting it, checked it up in the light, checked it in the little UV thing. It was like passed the test. He was a bit iffy about the whole situation, like, oh, why are you checking? Why are you like making sure it's not fake? Da, da, da. So then when he left, I was like, what a weird way to react. If you know your money's real, why are you acting up? So took it out the till, looked at it, looked at it really, really close. And I was like, something looks a bit odd. Peeled back what would have been Queen Elizabeth. It was a sticker. Bearing in mind, I accepted, I think it was £500 worth of like fake notes. It's not even funny, but I have to laugh at these situations. And I looked at my colleague and I was like, yeah, they're fake. They're in my till. I'm like, guaranteed I'm going to get called into work the next morning. Was my shift, walked in, colleague, you need to be seen at the office. I was like, yeah, cool. Because I already knew what was coming. I already knew what was going to be said. And I was like, right, okay, cool. Walked up, sat down, been asked a few questions. One question, which really irritated me, was, do you know the person? Now, I don't know if that's a question that asked everybody, but I know they asked me that question. I was like, no. And they was like, right, okay. Why'd you do it? And I was like, because we do it for other taxi drivers. Speaking of, well, you're not meant to. It's policy. Like, yeah, but other people do it. Okay. So what happened is your girl had a disciplinary. I wasn't allowed to be on checkouts. I was suspended from checkouts and yeah, suspended. So I had to be away from like the counters and like checkouts and stuff. I was like, God. I was like, all right then. And then was being investigated. Then I had my meeting, and not gonna lie, I went in there with my coat still zipped on, flask from my hot drink because I thought I was getting fired. But at this point, I was underneath a whole different manager. But they knew that I was the hardest working on that department. So I ended up having a disciplinary meeting with my manager being a note taker, and the person who did my meeting is a manager that I just didn't like. He didn't want to help me every time I called for help. For what reason? I don't know, but we'll just leave it to speculation. He was like, well, next time you need any help, just give me a call. I looked at my manager from the side. He just looked at me, gave me a sign. I knew exactly what the sign was. I was like, okay. Then, a few days go by, this lady who at the time I didn't like, and I'm going to be very honest, I still don't like her. She was going down to every single person on checkouts telling them what I did. If these meetings are meant to be confidential, how on earth do you know what happened? And how on earth does every single manager know what happened? Because you're obviously chatting. So when I saw that she was doing this, I was like, what I got told was because it's just her, they're not gonna do anything. But it was somebody else, they would have her. I have a name. Say my name because you know how to say my name. Don't call me her, and don't you dare be going down check out saying everything on my business because I heard her say it. I was like, oh, all right, these people are really testing me now. They're really testing my patience, aren't they? So I went back to the store manager. I was like, I want to put in a formal complaint about this person running her mouth and telling my business to every single person in checkouts. In fact, she shouldn't even know what was going on in my meeting. How she found out, I don't know, and I'd like to know. And then my store manager was like, would you like to be in a room with her and your manager and myself? I said no, because if I'm in the same room as her and she opens her mouth, I'm going to jump across the table. And she was like, right, okay. I was like, so this needs to be nipped in the bud because I don't know why she's running her mouth and talking my business. Well, the outcome was this said person got a written warning letter. See, when she got that letter, nicest pie to me, and it's just like, I'm not doing this. I am not doing this. And then again, it just made me think: would someone else, a person who is not of color, go through this whole rigmarole? I don't think so. But if we're gonna call this a wrap, guys, I might have to do a part 2. Who knows? So that's a wrap for today's episode of Charles World Life Unfiltered. Being in a predominantly white workplace has taught me a lot about resilience, patience, and the importance of staying true to myself. I hope my story resonates with those of you who've been in similar situations and reminds you that you're not alone. Thanks for listening, and if you have any stories or thoughts to share, please reach out. Until next time, stay true, stay strong, stay proud, and keep living your truth. Thank you. Bye.